we'll move on with 5 minutes to spare to Rob Reeve and Matthew Allen, who would give us a quick update on the UK Financial Conduct Authority's digital sandbox. Rob, Matt, over to you.
First, I want to say thank you to to Lewis and to Jake. It feels like they've set us up perfectly for the next presentation. We could not have asked for a better. Some of the things we discussed. I'm also going to thank Lewis and Matt, because I think Matt, what time is it? It's 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning for you. So good morning, welcome to Wednesday. And Lewis, thank you for staying up and doing the same. So the guys are doing a great job here for us to the community's expanding. I saw Miller was also up at 3 in the morning, so everyone just likes 3 in the morning is what I'm learning. So on with the discussion. So welcome. This is my first presentation as Lextago, but we've been working with the UK Financial Conduct Authority, but also with Cyber on the FRM side. So we started a journey, but before I jump into it, I wanted to just give an overview of the original FCA Sandbox. So we heard from David Erich and the guys from AIR yesterday on what a sandbox was and the challenges that of how they're working and the move to tech sprints, etc. Those sandboxes created services that made all the ecosystem. So the stuff that Jake was talking about with the hackathon, providing an opportunity for people to learn, to get to understand. It encouraged new services, but didn't actually improve necessarily the overall interoperability between all the parties. Tech sprints were introduced, but again, they were primarily UK-centric and not scalable. Then we got hit with GDPR, CCPA, and in Kenya they have their own Data Protection Act, and more of that coming across Africa. So that control of data and where it can go, I know that was raised as a discussion point from Jake's. Huge challenges in that space, but the new sandbox we were hoping to give you an overview today will hopefully give you an understanding of where the UK's sandbox is after its learning and its tech sprints. They're now headed. That sandbox approach that became the approach around the world. We expect the new digital sandbox that Matt's going to present to us and go through is likely to do the same. So we want to bring this very early into the equation. We were actually on a call earlier on with the FCA, with the guys from AIR as well. So that discussion of what's happening is very timely. So again, we're pleased. So before we do, why Modulate? Why are we even discussing this? Especially when we hit some of the problems from the FRM side, we hit a huge challenge, GDPR, but we need lots of data. We call our challenge the search for Atlantis. We needed fake geography, streets, towns, countries, everything. We needed to create fake people, fake networks, fake entities, device profiles, and lots of transactions. So we could actually do all those things. But then we found, fortunately, that the task was also being addressed by the FCA. So we joined the FCA sandpit, and we're still in that. It hasn't finished yet. The FCA sandpit gave us a structure for collaboration, a test bed for new services, but also a large shared data. I'm going to hand over to Matt now. Matt's the founder of the FinTech Sandpit. They've actually built the sandpit, and if we have time, I'll do a quick demo of what the sandpit is. But in the link, which will be shared, it's open to everybody. That's part of the things about the FCA Sandbox is everyone can go in, people can mentor, can get ideas, ask questions. It's there for that reason. So if you have got some time, please do get a look. And the question is, given what we've just seen on the hackathon, how does that apply to the Modulate? So Matt, over to you.
Thanks very much, Rob. I guess, hi everyone, nice to meet you. The thing to think about is, even though we're talking about digital sandboxes, it's not really a technical conversation. What we're talking about is sort of how do we solve these really big structural problems in industry, in society, whether it's sort of fraud, whether it's vulnerable consumers, SME financing, student debt, for example. These really large problems, they don't get solved overnight. We can say tech doesn't really solve the problems. It's actually people solving those problems. And so the purpose of the digital sandbox that we provide and that was facilitated by the FCA and the City of London is to actually open that up to the global community and bring in the relevant stakeholders, whether it be regulators, academics, VCs, large corporates, fintechs, to come together all around the table, the customer included, and go, okay, how do we bring these or accelerate the development of these 30 firms in the sandbox so that in 3 months' time, they've had all the conversations, the resources, the tools, the services that they need to be in a much better spot at the end of it. And so what we're talking about when we talk about the digital sandbox is not just an API, it's actually a place for those stakeholders to collaborate and solve their problems together over a period of time. And I think that's the big sort of change in the digital sandbox model that we're moving to now, is how do we sort of track progress of solutions and iteratively build solutions over a period of multiple years. So what I'll go through today is sort of what is the digital sandbox and what's included, how does it work in the cycle of development, in building a community and building a marketplace, and then some of the why and the why we do it and the benefits that the community and the marketplace brings to solving these large problems. And then the example of the FCA and so some of the demo and some of the stats out of the last 3 months of pilot that's been done. So the three sort of, we call them pillars to success of a digital sandbox. There's the community. It starts with the community and having a diverse knowledge base of people to come in and solve those problems. Because when you have the right people around the table, you have all the insight and are able to get to build a better product faster, and make sure that the product that you do deliver, it will actually, I guess, get used. And so then once these products are being developed, they sit on an open marketplace where individual firms and institutions can publish their solutions. And the thing that sort of holds that together is really high quality synthetic data to make sure that the solutions that are being generated can be validated to make sure that they're sort of correct or on the right track. And so the digital sandboxes that we're seeing now have a whole range of synthetic data within them, and we'll go into that a little bit more. So how does it all sort of fit together? Is that when you have that diverse knowledge base, that facilitates collaboration between parties that wouldn't have come together digitally. And remember, we're talking in a sort of a COVID world where you can bring together the global community and you have the global community at your fingertips to leverage in that insight. So it's actually a platform to facilitate that collaboration, which accelerates the development of those products, which can host it on the marketplace, which then draws in new people to the community to consume those services on the platform. So if we flick to the next slide and just talk about how this framework of the community and the marketplace really accelerates that development. With the community part, what we saw in the FCA is we had about 100 participants, but we had over 700 additional participants from over 28 countries, I think it was, collaborating and giving their expertise and insight to the specific teams in the hackathon, or the tech sprint that the digital sandbox pilot they ran. So what that means is that as this community grows, it becomes sort of the foundation for new solution or new problems to come in, and you can call upon that insight whenever you have a new problem. So as the problem generates into different stages and you need to call on regulators, you need to call on academics, call on large corporates, they're already there within the community to then to give those insights to feed into the product. And that's the same in sort of the development of a tech product as well, where you want to bring the customer into the table as early as possible to make sure that they're on the right track. The other value that community gives is making that platform tech agnostic, in the sense that it doesn't matter sort of you don't need to build a new sandbox every year every time a new technology comes out. The whole platform evolves as time goes on, where we bring on new services to adapt to the new problems that are being addressed. And the value of the marketplace as well is once these solutions are developed and hosted, when no sort of tech is developed from scratch, and I'm sure everyone here is aware, right? You've got all these dependencies. And so having a open platform with all these solutions already hosted means we provide all the participants the tools that they need, from everything from sort of credit rating agencies to open banking APIs, to payment switches, all available, so that when people are going to build new services, they can actually leverage the best in breed technology from around the globe. And so once these solutions connect once, they actually can be used over and over to all the range of new solutions that are going to be developed both now and in the future. So what we found over the last sort of 3 months, and the pilot's still ongoing, is that we had 30 teams come into the Digital Sandbox pilot. And what we were really surprised about, or that we didn't expect, was the amount of collaboration that would happen actually within the teams of the Digital Sandbox pilot themselves. And so this is sort of an extract of some of the interactions between the teams and the collaboration and the chat that was happening within the platform. And we didn't expect sort of these teams to actually start working together and coming up with new product developments, leveraging each of their technologies together. And that's collaboration that sort of wouldn't have happened had we not facilitated this in the platform. And I mean, this is just sort of some of the statistics from the 3 months on how powerful how much the data and the open API marketplace was used. There's a whole bunch of people sort of leveraging these existing technologies in their new solutions. We had a whole bunch of synthetic data sets that were used quite heavily by the firms experimenting with their new solutions. I think, yeah, what was definitely not expected was just how global it became. Traditionally, those tech sprints had been very UK-centric, and they're starting to move. Last year, in 2019, there was a satellite hackathon done in Washington at the same time as the London hackathon. But now that they're sort of this Digital Sandbox is all remote and taking applications globally, we're seeing a whole bunch of mentors and expertise coming in from around the globe, and that ranges everything from sort of FCA regulatory specialists to fraud academics from sort of the Midwest of the US, and sort of just a whole diverse range of knowledge that's found its way into the sandbox that can now be drawn upon by any of the participants that go through. And we would, I guess, that community, whatever problem we bring into the Digital Sandbox, it's almost like an incubator or an accelerator of sorts, where you can bring in that problem and actually see the rapid development of it using the tools that are within the sandbox. And I think that's sort of how we facilitate the development or the solving of these larger complex problems, where you've got, it's actually about providing the resources, the tech, data, and the community who can actually provide the insight when these new products are being developed to sort of rapidly accelerate their growth. So this could look like, I guess, a whole bunch of things, whether it's sort of launching a sandbox, leveraging a whole range of technology from sort of Africa or different continents, bringing in different data, bringing in sort of a platform of collaboration that can draw in the particular stakeholders that are required. But I guess what we've seen is just how powerful that is to really bring in those stakeholders to help the participants within the sandbox.
Thank you. I'm just going to bring it back there. So our challenge, as we said, we started with, was we needed a lot of data. Why? Because we need to find a needle in a haystack, and until you've got a haystack, you can't find a needle. You've just got a needle. But we need a lot of hay. Why do we need a lot of hay? Because unfortunately, fraud has a problem when we're doing ours. Common pattern, you either ignore it or it's suspicious. Either way, it's not good for you. And then we were given a challenge. Thank you, Miller and Matt. 3,000 TPS, but we started to get into discussions of people saying, no, you need to be up at 10,000, if not 20. Just doing the maths on that, the 400 million transactions a day, we run out of unique transactions very quickly if we want to run at sustained load. So we've got a demonstration of this later on this week. We used the data that came from here. So we had the data, but the data wasn't just transactional. For those of you who aren't aware, you'll get more about Apricot and what we've been doing as part of the FRM stuff. But these are all the data types and the extra metadata. At the moment, we're building to the very simple assumption: assume everything is there, then turn it off, then work out how we do it. That's the approach we're taking. That way we can build a solution that can fit in an environment where data is possible to flow, or work out how do we get data flowing. So that was our challenge, data. As we said, there were 400 million unique user transactions, 7 million unique users, 600,000 unique businesses that we can start. We added to that the mobile, the password resets, driving license, transaction limits, lots of extra data. We're giving that data back because, as part of the process, we're creating open data sets. The problem, UK-centric. But we've got the tools now to make it other country-centric, so we can build this more and more. And I think that's where the interesting part about Jake's presentation just now. When you start getting to data and people looking at it, it's got to be synthetic data, but it's got to be realistic, and realistic for the market context you have. For those who I've bored with my stickmen, you'll know what I'm talking about. Those who don't, please reach out to me. I can bore you about stickmen. It is my own personal view on how we look at data. But from that perspective, we went in wanting data, but we gained access to mentors, new partners. Bizarrely, some of those partners are saying, okay, can we open source some of our product to give us access to zero knowledge proof information? So some of the data flows that we need to allow for facilitation, these are services that need to sit alongside the hub. I didn't pay Jake to say about those things he just said, but bizarrely, they're the sorts of things that we're starting to address. How do we do out-of-band communications? How do we make those secure and happen properly? We gained interaction with the regulator. We're being asked to think about X, Y, or Z. If we're building a modular loop sandbox for a given market, and you say we don't know where to start, this ecosystem pulled it all together, accelerated some of our thinking, challenged us, gave us new options whilst telling us. So it became a lot more than just a technical integration. I'm mindful I have 2 minutes left, so I'm just going to quickly show people what does the sandpit look like. So this is the FCA sandpit. This is the observation. This is my communication. This is where we chat. Those links that were being sent through, that diagram comes from the communications we have here. Here we have the roles of the various parties. Everyone knows what their tasks are. The themes that we're working on, we're in the fraud and scams. Within there, we have access to mentors. So again, we're creating quick and easy access. I saw Lewis, I've got Lewis's DFSP set up there. There's some things there that already started, but this creates that one place so people don't go. If you had training, some of our media includes the training. You can have those. These are the sorts of things that we're seeing, and we found it really useful when talking with us. We're in an advanced stage, but that's a very different thing. That's quickly, as I say, this is all available. There is an IDE for others to go play with as well. But this is all available. Please do go. I'll put a link in as part of the chat into the discourse in a few moments so people can jump to it. But that was my presentation. I see some questions have come through. So if we just want to go to a Q&A, just saw some questions coming up. So Jill, the slide benefit, did you want to ask your question, Jill? I'm just going to, and thank you, Lewis, for that comment. Yeah, I'm sending you to sleep, really. So Jill, do you want to come off mute so you can ask your questions, just so we can, just flush it out a little bit? Other people may have a similar question.
Yes, I'd like to give other people a chance to speak. No, I mean, mine was more a compliment. You can probably guess now by my questions that, I do a lot of work on the side of, regulators and, should we say, advocacy and research, and to kind of move a regulator along a path to more agile regulation for fintechs. And when I saw that slide, I could see that being really effective to help a regulator that might be less experienced in digital finance to understand the kinds of benefits in a really tangible way that you were able to gain. Is there anything else that you might include in the kind of scenario that I just shared?
Yeah, the themes that are there, I think, if a regulator doesn't have, and I think it comes down to the user experience and the user journey. What case are you trying to solve for? When you're focusing on that, it's a 3-month adventure we're going through with the other participants, but we're on a common theme. We're preventing fraud and scams, enabling communication. There's one on SME lending. That's why the City of London promoted it. They had clear focus of what they wanted to achieve. So actually having that focus of, the same way as we have a PI that says, in this PI we're delivering X, if everybody in that community is delivering and can deliver similar things, you can build that theme across. So from a regulator, how do I manage COVID? How do I check for people phishing and the increase in scams and the payments that go with that? That was one of the requirements for the FCA. But again, they went in with a clear focus. That's the stuff that's being discussed by AIR yesterday. It's really exciting to have on the call earlier today in the FCA, people are saying, oh, we're working with the Gates Foundation. We go, really? How many people are working here? And it's that community builds the community, which builds the community. We can't underestimate the value of working together on a common goal to fix something that will help drive also adopt the community. Sorry, Stephen, for preaching and saying, but we thought this was a great opportunity to share. Look, we're in here now. This is what they're doing. So apologies for feeling like preaching, but these things are working. Right? So please, I just wanted to share. So. Any other questions? I'm not looking at Discourse, so if something's happening there, Simeon, if you can flag me.
Yeah, no questions to Discourse, but I will point people to the Discourse link.
I'm going to send the link to the Sandbox there straight away, so it will be a reason to go there, if nothing else. And any other questions, please do free. I'm going to thank Matt again for joining us, and thank you for staying up so late. That is greatly appreciated. And hand back to you, Simeon. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Rob. Thanks so much, Matt.